Hi everyone, thank you for joining me today. I'm Chris Berry, and I'm going to let you in on a little secret. Are you ready? Here's the secret. You can be anything you want. Anything. That's not a secret though. The secret is you can be anything you want, but you can't be everything that you want. You're thinking, what? I've been told I can do anything. Let me start with a story and how I came to this realization, and in my personal life, how I've developed this as a motto. We're going to start with 4 women about 7 years ago. First we have Colleen. They're all dear friends of mine. First we have Colleen. She was a stay-at-home mom. She had 1 child, married to a blue-collar worker. She was struggling to find the fulfillment that she wanted as a stay-at-home mom because she was struggling to put food on the table. They were having troubles to pay their bills. And I'm sure, as some of you know, when you can't pay your bills, it makes a hard time of almost everything else. Next, we have Kelly. Kelly works for her parents as a secretary at their construction company. She has a college degree. She's married. She has 1 child. She's struggling to find the balance between a corporate career beyond her parents' life, beyond her parents' corporation, that will give her the flexibility to be the kind of mom that she wants to be and still chase her dreams. Next is Janelle. Janelle has 2 children. She's married to an accountant who works, if you know accountants, about 50 to 60 hours a week at times, up to 80 during tax time. So he works long hours. She works part-time as an HR representative, thinking that she's got the perfect corporate career, suits every day, making good money. They are well into 6 figures together. But she's not happy. She's struggling to be engaged with her kids and balance what she thinks she's supposed to have as a career. Last, we have me. 7 years ago, I was single with no kids. I worked a corporate job in sales. I worked long hours. Again, the 50, 60 hours a week was not unusual. And I was struggling to balance dating with my corporate career and what I thought I wanted as a professional at the time. The reality is, all 4 of us were struggling to find balance. We were struggling to chase what we thought was the attainable dream, which is to have the perfect career, the great family life, the wonderful relationships, and the fulfilling hobbies, all at the same time. This is a myth. It's a myth to think that you can have it all at the same time and it will work perfectly all together. There's a lot of things that have to happen to get there. Some people can have it, but the great majority of the population, it's a myth. So we're going to talk a little bit about the myth, the reality of what it looks like, and what we can do about it. We'll start with the myth. I grew up in the post-feminist world. Women can have it all. We can do anything. We can take over the world. Still true to some extent. However, there's a balance there. In 2012, there was an article in The Atlantic by Slater talking about this phenomenon, and that 2 of the myths associated with this is that if you work hard enough, you can get there, or it's a matter of sequencing. We'll talk a little more about these in detail. So the myth of you just got to work harder. If you work hard enough, if you work long enough, if you have enough commitment, you can have it all. But if that's true, then the inverse is also true. If you don't have it all, it means that you're not working hard enough, you're not working long enough, and you don't have enough commitment. For many women, this simply is not true. They're doing the best that they can. The second myth is around sequencing. So it's work on your career first and then have kids. There's time for family later. Women are often finding that by the time their career is in a really good place in their late 30s and early 40s, they're having a harder time having kids. It's flat out harder to conceive children at that point. If they do end up having kids, and then they come back to the workplace, they're competing with their younger selves for their jobs. So this is the myth. It doesn't look like we're told. The reality of this is far different. Let me take you. In Ginsberg and Abrams in 2014 did an article on Harvard Business Review of 82 executives, men and women. Each one in some way or another talked about the fact that you can't have a great career, awesome family, and fulfilling hobbies all at the same time. every single one said something that this isn't possible to have all at once. All of them. So let that sink in for a minute. These are 82 top executives, and all of them say that you can't have it all at the same time. The reality is, many women at the top don't have kids. In fact, almost half don't. If you look at women that make over $100,000 a year, many of them don't have children. And this is out of a Harvard Business Review study in 2002 by Hewlett. So 49% of women that make over $100,000 a year don't have kids. Corporate women ages 41 to 55, 42% don't have children. So these have-it-all women maybe don't have children. The other part is if the ones that do have kids, there's often a wage gap. So women make 78% of what men do. 78%. Now, there's been talk that this is sexist and all that stuff, but more and more, out of this Hewlett article, they're finding that this is because of women dropping out of the workplace to raise and have children. They frankly just can't catch back up after coming back into the work world. So we can talk about this. There's a lot of things having to do with relationships. Sheryl Sandberg is well known for being one of the phenomenal women that talks about leaning into your career, really investing in your career when it comes time with marriage and kids and all that stuff. However, she talks very strongly that the reason she can do this is she has a husband at home to support her and help look after her children. After he died, she talked extensively about how much harder it was than she realized to be a single mom or to not have that support structure. 52% of women with that career, kids, higher education, in the Sex Roles Journal by Hoffman and Williams in 2013, have a husband who has less education than them. Another tidbit, they also have less separation anxiety from their kids. So those have-it-alls, they've got help at home to have it all. So let's take an example of the reality of a woman in now today's age who's balanced career and work and personal success. Michelle Obama, the First Lady. She has the same educational profile as her husband. She's had great jobs. She's got an awesome background. She worked in a Chicago law firm for a long time, switched to government, and then moved to education as she started having kids so she could be 10 minutes away from her children. She moved to a career that literally put her more within proximity of her kids. During the presidential race, she talked about her concern with her family having that balance with being around their kids. She limited her campaign time on the campaign so she could be around her two daughters. And as First Lady, she's limited her time advocating within that role to be still there for her daughters. By all means, she could be this high-powered executive on the international scale. She is to some extent. But I suspect that after the White House, we will see her, and after her kids go to college, we're going to see her do some amazing things once she's able to focus back on her career and her aspirations. So the question is, what do we do? We're not all Michelle Obamas. We're not all going to have that background. What do we do personally to find this balance? The first is we need to redefine our success. We need to redefine it. We need to realize that success isn't always going to be a straight shot up. It's going to be investment intervals. It's going to be steps. It's going to be climbs, plateaus, and even calculated descents. Sometimes you got to take a step back to do what's right for your family. You need to find balance and prioritize for yourself what's important with your career, your family, and your relationships. I call this personally, it's my season of life. Right now I'm at home with kids often, or I have young kids at home, so I need to step back from things. So my season of life is to focus on my family. My season of life 10 years from now will probably be different. The next thing you can do, look for flexibility in your jobs and the companies that you work for. Flexibility in schedule, flexibility in hours, and flexibility in location. How this works in the real world. Oftentimes, and for many of my corporate friends that work long hours, you log off at the end of 5 o'clock. So you can go home, pick your kids up from daycare, put dinner on the table, and get them to bed. Spend that quality time with your family. But then figure 8:30, we all log back in to finish up our emails, tidy things up, get things set for the next day. That flexibility is key to balancing your work and your life and making sure that you have time for your kids when you need to be and time for your relationships. This isn't just for women with kids. It's time to go out with your social groups. It's time to go out with your spouse. Time to reconnect with people in a real way. The last piece is be in the moment. Stop and smell the roses. When you're at work, be at work. When you're at home, be at home. You cheat both by trying to balance them both at the same time. Focus where you are in the moment, give it your dedication, and you'll have less guilt when you're at home with your kids because you know you gave it all for your workday. You did your best. So, to recap, having it all should no longer be our ideal. You need to find your personal balance. And your personal balance between work, between your life, between your kids, between your relationships, it's got to be for you, what you decide. So let's go back to our 4 women 7 years later. Talk about how each of them has found their own personal balance. Colleen, still married, she actually started working for a farm and runs a farm stand in the summer. She loves it, loves it. She works long hours in the summer, but it frees her up in the school year to be at home when her son gets home from school to help him with his homework, with his activities. She's able to contribute to the family income, but still find that balance with herself. Next we have Kelly. Kelly went back to school. She now works as a paralegal. Her husband ended up taking a step back as they had their second child to help balance out her career aspirations. He's now home with the girls more often and able to balance out her long hours by staying at home a little more. We have Janelle. Janelle quit her corporate job. She became a stay-at-home mom. And as her kids have gotten older, she's actually started to find a second career as a preschool teacher. She's going back to school for it. She loves that it allows her flexibility to be around her kids at night. And her husband is still working long hours, so she needs that balance in her life. Last is me. I'm now married with 2 children, 1 stepson, one daughter. I have slowed my career growth a little bit, taken a step back to go more for education, and kind of plateaued my career while my daughter is young so I can be home to put her to bed, so I can be to my son's football and baseball games. My husband is a blue-collar worker. He is home a lot. He likes to be at home. He likes to be involved. That allows me the freedom to be able to chase my dreams and chase my educational goals, to really come back and hit it hard once my daughter's a little older. Here's all 4 of us, so we are still friends, as you can see. But the moral of this is change your story. Don't follow everybody else's rules of what you should have. Make it your story. Remember, you can be anything you want, but you can't be everything you want. And I'm going to suggest that's not a bad thing. Thank you very much.